David and Tony, rounding about our town, another Inside Norwood program. And I'd like to start, guys, with, I think the biggest priority in this town, there are a lot of them, but the biggest one is our hospital. And August was decision day, a decision month for Stewart officials. Mm-hmm. Anything?
Well, I don't know if decision month would be the term I'd use. They filed what's known as a determination of need with the state, which is just sort of the state's bureaucratic process to allow construction or renovation of a hospital. And we're in a unique situation that a new hospital hasn't been built in the Commonwealth since, I think, the mid-90s. So a new ground-up hospital hasn't been built in 25 years. The state approved that emergency determination of need, which is just listing out the service levels and what they're going to have there, and that's obviously subject to change down the road. We were hopeful that that would trigger a faster demo permit process. That's sort of the next step that we're waiting for, is come in and get that demo permit and start tearing the building down. They haven't done that yet. Why they haven't started it yet, that does require some engineering and some design, and I have a feeling they were waiting on that determination of need, and this is just my speculation. They were waiting to get that back before they started the design work, because again, with a building that large and complicated, you can't just, as much as we'd like to, bring the wrecking ball and knock the darn thing down. You do actually have to design it, you have to come up with control measures, there's a process there. Here it is, 3-4 weeks since the DON was approved and we haven't seen that demo permit yet. We're anxiously awaiting that demo permit as the next step in the process so they can hurry up and take the thing down and start building the rest of the building.
Do you know how long it'll take them to knock it down?
Once it's fully permitted, they could probably, depending on how they go about it, they could have something like that down pretty quickly. Demo is usually a quick process. Maybe they get the whole thing down in 30 days. It depends on what they have to do for dust control, what they have to do for rodent control. Are they knocking it down and hauling it away? It all depends on the process, but generally demo is a heck of a lot quicker and easier than construction.
Yeah. And our police department will get a lot of those, extra duty positions,
Details?
The details, yeah.
On the demo process, you wouldn't necessarily use too much, but there's a little bit. I mean, it's a permit process. The police are involved, fire would be involved, mainly building, and the health department, of course. But it's really, if you have the money, how quickly do you want to go about demo?
Yeah. David?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a big demolition because of the amount of area. Not everything is confined to one vertical section of the land. It's really all over, and I'm sure there's a lot of underground piping and stuff. So it may take a little bit longer than usual, but quite frankly, we were hoping that at least they would let us know some way, somehow, that they'll be filing soon. We hear all the good news. We just don't, unfortunately, have
no idea
any good direct
not
contact with
out there
them.
Usually?
So,
no. Okay. How about one of my concerns personally is in the emergency department. And I'm sure a lot of people are concerned about that. Everybody really. But,
absolutely, it's our number one concern too. I mean, not having an emergency room. I know there's concern that Stewart may not have psych beds. They may not have maternity beds. Our priority is rebuild the darn hospital and get that emergency room up and running. As for whether it'll be first in the construction, I always remind people, if you think of sort of think of your house, right? You have your kitchen in your house and you're building a new house from the ground up. Parts of the kitchen might be ready before the rest of the house is done, but for all intents and purposes, you're probably going to get most of the building done before you're able to get in there. But the emergency room is essential to them as well when they get up and running. That's what feeds a lot of their beds. But for us, I mean, it's costing a lot of time in man and material and having to send ambulances into Boston. It's costing us overtime. It's costing us fuel.
Big time.
It's costing us wear and tear on the equipment. And most importantly, it's costing safety. It's taking longer and longer to get to a hospital. And it's not just a Norwood issue. I mean, the hospital directly serves 12 communities and 250,000 people. So it's a biggest impact probably on us, but all of our neighboring and surrounding communities, it's having an impact on them as well. So getting that ER up and running needs to be top priority. But for that to happen, they got to pull that demo permit, tear the darn building down, and then start construction.
How about the water problem? Is going to satisfy now? Won't happen again what happened last time?
Well, I mean, so remember that the storm we had on June 20th, we got 6.5 inches of rain in 45 minutes. If you have a storm like that, you are going to have major problems no matter what. You could spend $10 billion on a stormwater system and 6.5 inches of rain in 45 minutes, you're not going to be able to handle that. The construction of the hospital, where they had all of their MEP, their mechanical and their electrical room below grade, I don't think in hindsight was a wise decision, but I think that wing of the hospital was built in the early 80s. Hopefully from a design perspective, they would correct that. Better stormwater management can help and make sure that that wouldn't be a problem in the future. However, 6 inches of rain, 6.5 inches of rain in 45 minutes, there's no system in the world that can handle that. The hospital, again, in hindsight, the design was particularly flawed, but they thought the Titanic was the best boat that set sail in the world until it sank. So, and had we not had that storm, the hospital would be open today, and we wouldn't be talking about a new hospital.
It could happen in the future, though.
Absolutely.
And Tony and David, just my suggestion to the residents, if they could do it, I put a sub pump in, and we had about 6 inches, close to 6 inches this last time. This is recent, and I only had a little bit, very, very little. So a sub pump works.
Okay, but commercially built buildings don't have something.
No, I know that. That's a different ballgame.
They're building from the ground up. They know the water issues, or they will know when they talk to Mark Ryan, and they'll just design it accordingly. I mean, Tony's right. The best thing that they can do is put all their utility infrastructure issues on the first floor, not in the basement. Most companies back then and even before then, out of sight, out of mind is the valuable space was from the ground up. Everything else you put underground. They don't. A lot of companies don't do that anymore because of that.
Yeah. Right. And remember, it's not just that the ground floor of the hospital flooded. All of their electrical room was there. So all of their electrical boxes, all of their communication boxes, everything, the whole guts that ran the building that is the hospital was all there. And as David said, for many years, it was always out of sight, out of mind, stick it somewhere. And then people started saying, better design of a building, why not put that stuff, how about not putting that stuff in the basement?
Right. Yeah. And our police and fire department, they did a miracle job that day. They really did.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
it's rare in anyone's career that you would have to do a hospital evacuation. You always you drill on these things, you train on them, you sit and you do your tabletop exercises, and it's always very academic. We had to do it in reality, and they got it done. No injuries. I mean, the amount of coordination, dozens of communities, and getting, probably 70 or 80 patients, I forget what was in the hospital at the time, getting everyone out, getting them to other facilities, all safely done. All the while, there's all sorts of problems around other parts of town. It's not like just the hospital lost power. I mean, we had water in parts of town we didn't even know could have water. So while this is all going on, and then we got it all evacuated, I mean, they did incredible job.
I can remember hearing on my scanner, police chief books saying abandoned. I can remember it loud and clear on my scanner, abandoned. And boy, I'll tell you, they went to work. Okay, our street paving, Tony, I went up Railroad Ave and I says, oh my gracious, this is awesome. I can see it happening now, okay? I can see, you got to a point now where you reached a level of appreciation, and I think the residents really like that. You guys really put the bucks into it, and it's paid off. It just makes everything so different. It really does.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. We're happy to hear that. We still have for this season about 10 or 12 more roads to get done.
I'm going to ask you about one of them, my favorite one. Go ahead.
And we're asking town meeting for authorization to borrow again to do another road bond. We're trying to do 5 successive road bonds, which will really get the roads in town into really good shape. And then as the debt service drops off from them, between what we have in the operating budget and allocating that money in the budget, we should be able to maintain ourselves in a better condition. We needed to get caught up, and we're trying to get caught up. And throughout the town's history in the past, they've done some road bonds here or there where they needed to get done. We let it get behind. We didn't quite invest enough for a while, but now we're looking to make sure we can invest to keep things going, and we're in a good place.
And go ahead, David.
No, I was just going to say, and I think part of that is a really good laid out plan of what you're trying to accomplish, how you're going to accomplish it, and that you have a time period at which you say, if we can do this, this is how good it will be from this point on. And that's where you give the credit to the team. It was the Board of Selectmen, it was Tony's team, Mark Ryan, the engineering group, that put forward this plan. We said, this is the right move, but we got to convince those that have to approve it, and that was town meeting. And they did. Now, I know it's an annual approval, but when you can go to town meeting in October and say, see, this is what we're able to accomplish with that road money, and we're going to continue working on it, and as long as people see those benefits, it'll be good. But Yeah, in years past, you didn't see that, Tom, but I think you do see it now because, and people say, well, it's a lot of money. Well, pay me now, pay me later. It's actually going to cost you a lot more in the long run if you do it the way we were doing it rather than trying to do it now.
Absolutely. And the guys are out there trying to patch. That's ridiculous, you know, it is. How about, this one has I was on Washington Street up at South, you didn't do a part of that.
So one of the challenges with a street like Washington Street, I know Washington from a little bit further down Town Hall to the line there, we're doing some water work along there, so we always try to do the water work, make sure there's no gas work, and then come in and do the road after that. The challenge with a street like Washington Street and Manhattan Street's the same thing. To a certain extent, Railroad Street, the really big, long streets that cover a lot of Port of Town, if you try to do the whole thing at once, you can do the whole thing at once, and that's the only work you're doing that year. And that's all you can get done, or you do it over the course of 2 years. So sometimes the bigger streets, it's better to break them up so you're always sort of doing a section of it, because otherwise it'll eat up all your money for the whole year,
okay,
and you get nothing else done. So that's why Washington, I mean, running the length of the community, that's almost one you wouldn't want to do all at once. You want to kind of at least break it up into a couple of chunks.
Yeah, see, up the hill, you go up the hill, it's okay, right? But then you come down a little bit, there's a section right there that's not done. Are you going to do that eventually?
Whole thing, yep.
Okay.
And one of the challenges, so a street like Washington, Manhattan's an example, part of that. Those main thoroughfares, you're going to do those more frequently than you're going to do a residential street. So if you live on a typical subdivision, sometimes those streets can get 50 years out of them. You shouldn't. You should be doing it more often than that. But sometimes those streets can really, really go. You know, Washington Street, I think we've done the South Norwood corridor probably twice in 12 years because it just... they're small, they're dense, it gets beat up, and you need to get it done.
Takes a beating, yeah. Yep. No question. How about Pleasant Street down there, the asphalt?
Should be next spring. We were hoping to get it done.
Oh, you're going to wait on that, okay.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of getting the work done and getting everything scheduled. The funding is there. We are going to use a little bit of money that the asphalt plant puts aside for it, and we're going to get that done. We wanted to get it in this year in the summer, but we're facing some of the same material delays you're seeing everywhere else. We're actually having a problem getting granite curbing now. Believe it or not, for some of the streets that we're looking to do. So we're scraping around, and our vendors are scraping around and calling everywhere around the country to get it. And those are just supply chain issues that everyone's having. It's not just Norwood. But as a result, that's delayed some of the projects we wanted to get done. But next spring is the goal to get it done. And incidentally, asking town meeting for the approval in the fall and then going out to bid, we got good prices on the road work. We projected how much we wanted to get done and what the budget was, and it came in within that budget, even with a little bit to spare. And that same thing with the water work. I mean, we sort of said, okay, we need about $4 million, a little over $4 million worth of water work and a couple $100,000 for some of the incidentals. And all the work we wanted to get done came in within that. We even got a little bit more. So sometimes taking these projects in bigger groups gets us a little bit of a better rate as well. So we were very happy the way the bids came in.
I think you guys have done a hell of a job. I really do. I mean, I'm so impressed. It just looks different. It really does.
Looks like $1 million. And one of the important things, people have been investing in their homes in Norwood. They've always invested in their homes, but the last couple of years, even before the pandemic, the level of investment in people's homes has been very, very high in this community.
Unbelievable.
The building department continues to be busier than they've ever been. And we're not just talking about little simple investments. I mean, there's a lot of big $100,000, $150,000 renovations, additions, the number of new windows and new doors and new decks and new sidings, and then people are taking care of their properties. The housing stock in this community is going through a really once in a generational or once in several generational upgrade, and residents are investing in that. So the town should invest as well. I mean, you could have a house that looks like $1 million, and if you got a real crappy road in front of it, it doesn't look that good.
No good.
But let me tell you, you put that money into those houses, and I drive through the streets all the time. Part of it's because it's sort of my job, but sometimes I get up on a Saturday, Sunday morning, and I can't sleep, and I just start driving, and I just pick different roads and go down them, look at the conditions of the road, and look at the condition of the housing stock.
We'll go for coffee. Drive around. That's what I do.
It's what I do too. You get your coffee and you just go and you look around, and then you see the houses are being invested in. You say, you put a new street on a road where people have invested in a lot of their homes, and it just looks like $1 million.
Take a ride down the Redwood Drive, my street. I'm telling you.
It's fine. Your street's fine.
Let me check, Tom, here. I think your house is scheduled for your street.
No, we're not talking about the street now, right now. But anyway, just
2032 we'll do your road.
It's just unbelievable. It really is. What
It is.
My
And
neighbors
complimenting the roads is, he didn't mention, is that, they're always looking at the sidewalks, not curbing sidewalks in street. They go hand in hand, and there are a lot of sidewalks in town that are really in tough shape, and while you're there, you take care of them.
Yeah.
And it looks great. And
It's
I know
working.
People love the
It's working.
concrete
The
sidewalk.
effort is really working. It really is, you know.
Absolutely.
It's great. Okay, as I drive on Winter Street, approaching Shattuck Park, the small little island looks so beautiful, flowers, and even the sign stands out. Now, Shattuck Park needs some help with cleanup and major landscaping in order. Why not invite some inmates from the sheriff's office to give us a helping hand? Okay. Then, after we do that, get that done, right? Or the CPA program, either one. Right. And after that, then we could decorate the park, for the holidays. And everybody, just about everybody, goes up to that cemetery. I go up to it, and to me, it's sour spot. It really is. You walk by there,
So here's the challenge. Do you want to go?
Go ahead.
So here's the challenge with Shattuck Park. Shattuck Park was donated to the town many years ago with the condition that it be kept forever wild. So we really can't do much to it. It's got to be kept in
Really?
sort of it's got to be kept.
Come on,
in
Tony, give me some good news here. will you?
I know. I wish we could. I'm not. It's Shattuck Park. That's
Yeah.
The actual deed, I believe, says it has to be kept forever wild. So it's we trim around the edges. We make sure it's safe. We do go in and do a little bit of trail clearing and things like that. But it's got to be kept in that sort of brushy, rugged state
Really?
as a result of the donation. Otherwise, if we
That's
weren't to do
terrible.
it, we'd have to give it back to the original owners. They could sell it and put in housing or God only knows what. So I agree. I like a nice manicured park. I love the way the common looks when it's well manicured. I love when people's houses and then nice neat lawns and everything. But that's sort of the condition that we own Shattuck Park. It's got to stay forever wild.
Really? Could you decorate it for holidays?
You might.
That you might be able to get away with.
That may help.